Welcome to the Alpha Pickleball Podcast, where we slice through the noise to bring you the juiciest insights, strategies, and stories from the dynamic world of pickleball. Join us as we serve up engaging conversations with top players, coaches, and enthusiasts, giving you an ace perspective on all things pickleball. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just stepping onto the court, get ready for a volley of knowledge that'll elevate your game to alpha levels. Let the rallies begin.
All right. Welcome again to the show. I'm your host, Tats. Today's guest is Jason Bock, pro pickleball player. Look forward to learning about your story.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you having me on nice and early here, almost the end of the year. So, so my story, as I have a 4-year-old that's knocking on the window again right now. I think I'm a little unique as far as pro pickleball players, because basically I try to play as many tournaments as I can while balancing work and being a girl dad, which you know what it's like to be a father, as I found out. So, but yeah, my background's a little bit. So I started playing all sports at a young age, loved them all. For some reason, I do not remember playing pickleball in gym class, which, you know, a lot of people do. Or if you know Wes Gabrielson, who's here in Portland, Oregon, He always talks about learning pickleball in gym class. But no, I went through playing lots of sports. Started to focus more when I got older on soccer and tennis. So yes, I'm one of those tennis background people. Traveled the nation playing tennis, really focused in on that. Had some opportunities to play at D1 schools, but like a lot of tennis players, I got pretty burnt out. You know, if you know singles tennis, it's a lot of a mental and physical drain on you.
Oh yeah.
So went away to college, went to Ohio State University out in the Midwest. And then when I finished there, I had a job offer out in Portland, Oregon, and I've been here ever since.
Yeah. What do you do for your job?
So my main role, I work in the medical device world, in the oncology space, managing the Pacific Northwest. And then over the years, I like to invest in other businesses. So I have some interests out in the Midwest, and then also looking at more businesses now in the pickleball space, just because it's growing so much.
Yeah.
So
very cool. So whenabouts did you start pickleball?
So I first really saw pickleball before COVID. We were in Europe with my wife, and I heard the sound of this ball when we were out, like in Barcelona walking. So I went over and I'm like, what is this sport? Find out it's pickleball. And then when I get back to Portland, I find out there's actually a really good group of, especially like I already mentioned, Wes Gabrielson, OG players. Makes sense, right? Because it was founded up there in, Bainbridge Island. So I don't think anything of it. And then one Memorial Day, I play a 3-5 tournament with my friend's mom because my wife was out of town. And then I got kind of hooked because it was super fun. Then COVID hit and there wasn't really anything else to do. And since I just recently found this group of folks here in Portland that played, I found all these private indoor courts, which was basically the only thing deemed, that and tennis you could play at a safe distance. And then got hooked. And then the APP tour started. And then the PPA tour started. And it seemed like, oh my God, there's actually a little bit of money you can make in this. And then I told my wife, I go, I know I'm in my 30s back then. I'm gonna try to maybe take this seriously. And of course, she's very supportive, but also jokingly is like, didn't know what pickleball was going to be about. So that was back in 2020, and here we are at the end of 2024, and I'm still competing as much as I can. So,
So yeah, I mean, who did you learn from? You mentioned West and stuff. I mean, just those groups. Like, who taught you the various things that are part of your game now?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I remember I took one lesson from someone in Portland. Her name is Bonnie Williams, and she's actually she's a senior pro now. She doesn't compete as much, but she was really good. And I still remember I was in my car about to go into a meeting in like Corvallis, Oregon, to a hospital. And she's telling me everything about how you have to get a USAPA registered number, like the way that the ratings worked. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to sign up for like, a 5-year plus membership because I was bought in. But she gave me one lesson and I learned a ton of the basics from her. And then I got fortunate because I got to play with Wes and then Eric Lang, who's in Portland here, one of our guys that we all train with. He had started a year or so previous to that, and I think he was coming off of maybe it was that year. Him and Steve Deacon got like second at nationals, and so I got fortunate to get in with that group, and then the group just kept getting deeper and deeper to where we have a lot of really good players here. So
Yeah, for sure. Currently, what when you first started, what were you working on, and what are you working on now?
yeah, so I think again, typical, right? Being a tennis player, you can smack the ball through a lot of people early on. You also learn that they're not tennis strings, so you can't get the topspin. I was a heavy topspin tennis player, um, and so the funny thing is the advancements of paddles helped to change that because you probably remember Electrum was one of the first paddles that was like really gritty. And that was early on when I was coming on board, and so I remember picking up one of those paddles and was able to dip the ball a little bit more. So early on, it was okay. At the highest level, you can't just smack the ball through because people have really fast hands and they punish you. So it was more learning to drop your thirds, learning to be a little bit more deceptive up at the kitchen line instead of just speeding up. Even though my friends would joke, they think I still speed up a lot early. So but now it's more, working on again more of the deception. Handling the pace is important because these paddles have just got so juiced up these days. Um, which we can talk about our thoughts on that if we want. But
Yeah, yeah. You said so. So what's handling the pace, countering it, or just taking the pace off of
yeah,
something hard?
yeah. So we're working a lot on resets. I joked. I've played this year a lot of people with souped up Yola paddles or the world of D-Land paddles, and if you can get on a counter and put it away, it's great. But I joke with a lot of people. Anybody that likes to hit really hard or likes to return hard, I mean, I'll dead serve, just like an undercut serve to bring them up to the kitchen because it takes away what they want to do, which is smack the heck out of their forehand, right? And it's the same as when they're at the baseline and I'm at the kitchen. I could try to swing hard at their hard shot and maybe connect and have a crazy winner that you put away. But just getting your paddle in the spot and blocking it so that it falls down and then takes away their chance to rip another one, we're
Mm.
working on that because I mean, there's definitely been games that I can think of a few that a few points were given away because I didn't, handle someone's really, really hard forehand that just cleared the net because maybe I was trying to do too much with it. So,
Got it. It's not necessarily what you want to do, but maybe taking away what your opponent wants to do is a strategy.
yeah, yeah. So keep it. This game sometimes I think it's keeping things simple. Eliminating that backswing when you're trying to kill it and just getting your paddle on it and living to fight another opportunity basically. Which is hard because when you see someone swing hard, sometimes your reaction is, "Oh, I'm going to smoke this thing back at them." So,
Well, that's what you're supposed to do in tennis, right? You're
oh, yeah,
supposed
I
to
know.
you're so used to things coming at you and being able to hit a little bit harder than the second one.
Yeah, I was never dinky in tennis. I was ripping topspin shots. So,
Yeah, I mean, I see some people that play tennis that could hit soft and go between those two, but I guess it depends on how you were as a, tennis player. I mean, um, we did so blending between like, being aggressive and then being soft. Are you able to transition between those two easily, or do you have to work on it? Like, how'd that go?
yeah, I mean, definitely early on, like I said, I had to work on it, but I personally I like a soft kind of cat and mouse doubles game because I think with my reaction time with my hands, being a strength, I'm happy to get up there and kind of grind it out and dink all day, even with a soft Franklin ball. I mean, because I think that's what was drawing me to the sport early on was I never played something where you literally swing as hard as you can at a shot. And when you get to a really, the higher levels, they all keep coming back. And I think that's part of the fun of it, which then leads me to what we were just talking about. It is not quite as much fun, I think, the direction the sport's going with, poppy paddles. And I mean, sure, I can swing hard and rip a forehand, but I really think the fun in the game is when you get up there and then the, boom, 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 boom. Oh my gosh, we can't put the ball away always. This is crazy. So
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, so for you, I mean, I looked at some of your games. I mean, do you have a preference on side? Like, how do you train? Do you train for both sides, or do you have a certain thought on a preference?
yeah, I think I tell it's a question whenever you're trying to, partner up with people, they always ask too, like, what do you prefer? I don't think I necessarily prefer a side. I think there's shots that I've worked on and I enjoy hitting on both sides. I think sometimes I get put that you probably prefer the left just because I do have a pretty solid forehand and I can cover the court, pretty quickly. So, but with a lot of the partners I'm looking to play with and some of the ones I've been talking to, I think we start straight up, which I think there's an advantage to both, right? Oh, I'm a dominant left side or I'm a dominant right side. That's great. They're comfortable. But I think there's something to being able to switch sides in the middle of a match, right? And being comfortable doing that. So playing straight up, I think can be a good thing too, because it's almost like the second they were used to, going cross court with one person, well, now they're looking at someone that maybe has a little bit different size, a little bit different speed or look to what they're doing. So yeah, so I think probably some of these couple tournaments coming up here at the beginning of the year, be playing straight up a lot with my partners.
Mm.
So
Do you think that's going to be a trend, or do you think there's going to be more specialization or of side going forward, or do you think it's a blend of two?
I think there's a lot of emphasis. You hear a lot of people talk. I think they'll specialize, even though I don't know if there's if that's a right or wrong answer. Um, I do think that there is this stigma, like, ooh, I want to be that left side dominant person. But then you look at someone like Gabe Tardio or a really good right side, and you can be dominant on the right side. And that's one thing I've worked on too. There's times where if I'm on the right, I'll take a middle ball that maybe because it's I just pinched the middle a little, and it's not that I'm trying to hit a winner, but I might use my backhand and flick it back to the person that's playing on the left side in front of me. But you can be dominant, on the right side now too, which I think helps to give a different look, right? Oh, you're dinking in the middle. The guy on the left is always going to be the one taking it. Oh, Jason was on the right and he stepped in with a backhand. He didn't hit a winner, but he threw me off a little bit because he's playing big on the right for a point.
I
So
mean, for that, like, do you think that both sides can be dominant, or can you oscillate between the two, or do you decide before the game, before the two? Like, what are your thoughts on that? On, not so that sort of there's confusion in the middle.
yeah, I think it's all about talking to your partner and having a game plan. And even in the middle of a match, right? I think you go into a match thinking, okay, we're going to, this is typical of what we do. Return to so and so because the other person loves to drive it or whatever. And then when we get up at the kitchen, work the middle and work this person's inner foot.
Yeah.
Then, you go on with that game plan. And then there could be, hey, we're going to switch sides or, hey, I'm going to play a bigger right. So, I think all of those things are fluid, and
Yeah.
especially in a match. Like, of course, if you're winning easily, it's always easy, right? You don't have to change anything up too much. But I think it's when stuff hits the fan that you're like, hey, I'm gonna come over a little bit and start doing something just to mix it up a little, to throw them off, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess it makes sense. I mean, let's say, from the right, you have a certain shot. You know that your partner has a certain shot that they're good at that hits like on a weakness that you discovered in game. That could
Yeah,
be one of the reasons.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's tough because I think a lot of times you get stuck in a match, and I tell everybody the number one key thing I think that determines, who wins a match. Like you always say in like football, like turnovers are the biggest key. To me, in pickleball, a lot of it comes down to execution and shot choice. And the second one, shot choice, is always tougher for me too, because sometimes you're in a flow, you've had a couple speed ups, and then you kind of go to the well a little too much, and they tattoo it back at you. You're like, okay, well, we were winning, and not so much anymore. So let's get back to hitting smart shots, making sure we hit our thirds.
Yeah.
Because at the end of so many matches, when I look at it, I can remember every single point almost. It's like, oh my gosh, I missed a return. I left that third high, and we lost 11-9.
Yeah.
And then of course my partner could think the same thing. Oh, don't worry, I missed a serve and I did this. If we just execute and don't do that, we probably win that game. So
Yeah. And you mentioned something earlier. You said, like speed ups and this and that. And I guess I'm curious about two sides of it. One is like, let's say, you know, you notice something, you have a partner, I guess you have a decent relationship, and they're doing something that's, causing, something that we're not winning, right? So
right.
what's the right way, or do you think is to approach that situation so you're not, throwing them off, but you're being respectful and trying to communicate?
Yeah, it's really tough because again, when you're caught up in the moment, or again, you're playing maybe in a medal round or for money, and you're being live streamed. So I mean, I try to smile as much as I can, and remember that we're hitting a plastic ball and it's growing. The sport's growing. There's eyes on it. Like this is crazy. It's like a second opportunity for a lot of us to play a very competitive sport now. So I usually smile and try to say something along the lines of, "Hey, why don't we try, doing this?"
Well, what do you think about this? Or,
Yeah, like, "Hey, I appreciated the attempt there." And honestly, sometimes I've had to say, like, my partner will say, "Do X, Y, Z," and you get caught in the moment where you're like, "I can hit this shot that I've done a million times," and then you don't. And I've looked at my partner. I'm like, "Yeah, that was stupid. That's on me. Like, I got to stick to the game plan." So,
yeah, I like that. That's on me. Like I always wonder about like the optimal sort of things to say around the court, right? Like, owning a mistake, or, whatever. Like how do you be a better partner? I mean, what are things that you like to see from your partner when you're playing?
yeah, so I do thrive off of my partner's positive energy, right? Easier said than done because everybody responds differently in the heat of the moment in a match. So I've had some really great partners that are really positive, but also someone that in the moment you're actually able to have a conversation with, which is tough. You've probably seen plenty of matches where partner gets upset and they're like they need to go off on their own, or go have a moment, which I get. But I'd rather do it almost like together, like, hey, like, okay, we're down a couple, that didn't work, this didn't work, hey, let's have some fun and try this. And just like it's tough though, because a lot of people play this not just because it's a fun sport, but they enjoy winning, right? Everybody likes to win. So
Yeah, yeah. No, communication is interesting because I think some people are really good at communicating. Like I
yeah.
played singles tennis, and sometimes I get too focused on what I'm doing instead of like, moving together or something like that.
Yep.
And I totally appreciate someone that can talk and communicate and,
Yeah.
call the timeouts at the right time and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, and again, that's part of the joy, I think, of pickleball, with doubles being the more, I would say, popular to watch and play, right? Because exactly to your point, I came from singles tennis, competitive, and it's like you have nobody out there but yourself. You win, it's like, yay, and then you go and your family's like, good job. You lose, you're like, oh my God, I hate this game. Why am I playing this? But in like pickleball, even when you win and lose, you lose, you're like, all right, let's go get a beer. like like let's go cheer on our other friends that are doing well, which is still hard because you want to be playing, right? But
Yeah.
you're like, all right, at least we got, I'll go cheer on Max or something, or Lang. So
Yeah, I mean, when you train, I'm always wondering about training camps and stuff like that because you have a very tight group. I mean, do you have like like when you're training together, but then you also compete against each other. Like, what's the dynamic? Are there any sort of unwritten rules? Like, what's the key to having a good, training camp with people that you compete against?
Yeah, and it's actually funny you say that because I know of certain people throughout the country, and you hear like, oh, they don't want to train with so and so to give away their, secrets or whatever. But I mean, still, I think pro pickleball, right? Like everybody on the PPA tour knows each other. Everybody on the APP tour knows each other. We all played each other a gazillion times, right? So at the end of the day, again, it comes down to what I said. If I believe if I execute my shots, better, will win that match. So they might know what I'm gonna do, and I know what they're gonna do. Like great example, Eric Lang and Max we played Spencer Lanier and myself, who was in Portland. He's now training in Florida. We had a really awesome run at the Miami Open this year. And on one side of the draw, Lang and Max, like they knocked off Andre Deescu and Gabe Tardio. They made a run to the semis. Spencer and I knocked off like the 5 seed, the 4 seed, like all this. And we're in the semis playing, Dylan Frazier and JW Johnson. So we're having this like crazy Pacific Northwest magical run, right? And we're like, this is great. Everybody's playing really well. Well, we don't win our semis. So then here we are playing the bronze match, literally against the team we just trained with the week before. And if you watch that match, we just all went out. We're like, hey, either one of us can have a good day, beat the other. We're just going to go out, have a good time, and have fun. And I think, Lang and Max executed their game plan a little bit better than we did, and they won, right? But I don't think I went into it, or Spencer did, or Eric and Max saying, oh my gosh, we shouldn't have been training with them. I think it's because we all trained together that we pushed ourselves to get better. And there we were in a major, APP tournament that had, arguably some of the best teams in the world. And we had a really, special moment of, oh, this is so cool. We're all in the top 4. So
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned fast hands is one of your strengths. You know, uh, since you train with all these pros, but fast hands is there's always someone that has the fastest hands, right? And maybe you're across from them. So what can you do when you're in that situation and you're right across from someone that has faster hands for you? What are your options?
well, I like to think they don't. No, I'm just kidding. We're all so confident, right? No way you do. No, but if that is the case, like someone's, that's a strength of theirs, right? So I would tell my partner, and we do it all the time, we're not speeding up at that person, right? And it's hard because even when you get a high one, sometimes you're like, all right, I'm putting this one away. And you hit it at, say, the player that's stronger with those really fast hands, and then they get it back. And you're like, oh my gosh, I thought just because it was an easier shot, I'd put it through them. And I didn't. And we're still playing the point. Oh, great. And we end up losing the point. So it's really a battle between, like I said, that game plan you're trying to execute on. And so if in that case, I would just probably pick on the person and tell my partner, we're waiting for a shot that you can hit at the other person that doesn't have quite as fast hands. And we're going to have to be patient. So
So even something like you said, normally could lead to a 1-2 put away. If they can neutralize it somehow with that first shot, it's risky. So unless you're winning more of the, you can determine somehow roughly that you're going to win more of those points at a certain threshold, then it's like complete no-go, and you're just going to stay out of it.
yeah, and it's also sometimes people, it's like they're having success doing one thing, so they keep doing it. And I think I told you earlier, sometimes I think it's smart. Okay, I've had success doing that a couple times. I'm not going to push my luck. Because I know, for instance, if someone got me on a certain shot once or twice, now I'm ready and I'm expecting it. If they try a third, fourth time, I'm most likely ready and on it. But I think it's really hard to think the way I just said, which is don't keep going to that same shot. Now mix it up and keep them guessing and waiting. Like, oh, he's going to do it again. Oh no, he hasn't. Why hasn't he done it again? And then they're doing some other pattern. I think that's really smart, but it's really hard to do. So
Yeah. I mean, do you do different things to test people to see if they have it on the day? Like
yeah,
maybe they don't have it every time.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, no, very, very much. Especially, I think in mixed doubles too, because I think mixed doubles, very different from men's. The strategy sometimes is, okay, can the female straight ahead of me, does she like pace? Can she handle it? Right. That's a very popular, I guess, strategy, right? Okay, my drives are really feeling good today. I'm going to try to put some, in the middle or a little bit more to the girl. And if she can handle it, oh, we got to switch it up and go to drops. But if not, maybe I keep doing it to get some free points. And then once she, she starts figuring it out or is on it, okay, now we'll switch it up a little bit. So, but it's easier thinking about it and talking about it now. But when you're in the moment, sometimes you're a little bit more tunnel visioned and not, not changing or thinking about it the way we're talking about it right now. So
yeah. I mean, I think you touched on it slightly, but like when I talk to Max, he's like, practice, and in a game, I'm not going to think, right? What are you like? Or do you come in with a few points? You may have some strategic things like hit to this person, this spot, or whatever, but are you more like, do you have some swing thoughts or whatever, or nothing?
No, I think, yeah, Max is funny because we've played some points before we've had it. He's like, dude, I was totally blacked out in a zone. I'm like, what? Where are you? Like, I'm laughing. I might be seeing somebody in the crowd I know, which can be good and bad, right? Knowing some partners want you like dead serious and don't make too many jokes at the other player. And I'm kind of more like happy go lucky until something happens. Like I've been hooked before and my joyfulness went away and the seriousness really kicked in, and maybe that was a good thing for us. But no, I just go in, trying to again execute our shots, get up to the kitchen line, because I think that's a strength usually of my partner and myself is we get up there and we do our thing and we execute and we're gonna have a good time. Now, if things aren't going, well, call timeout. Maybe I gotta drink another Rain energy drink that they always have at these APPs. get my caffeine up or something like I'm drinking now.
Yeah.
Walk in.
Hey, I noticed something. You wear shades when you play in the sun. Is that something I would love to, but I don't know. It doesn't seem to work for me. Is that something that you naturally did, or did you mess around with it because it helped you a lot?
Yeah, so a couple things, and I used to do it in tennis too. I mean, one, if it is really sunny, it's good. I've had people say, "Is it so nobody can see your eyes, like where you're gonna hit it?" I'm like, I don't know, maybe that's a thing too, but it's also a little bit of added protection.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know some people don't like playing with sunglasses. I really I enjoy playing with them, and then it does add protection. So it's kind of like when you're up there at the kitchen, and I already said with how fast the game has got it. I'm never worried that I'm going to lose my eye. And I was training this past week with a friend. We have a Lifetime Fitness like 5 minutes away, which is nice here in Portland. And I hit a drive off the net and he was wearing the carbon, protective glasses, and it went right into his glasses. And he's like, "Oh my gosh, that's the first time that's ever happened. If I didn't have these, that would have been a bad day." So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned Eric Langer. He just hugs the line, leans forward on everything. He doesn't seem like he moves. I noticed that you kind of create space at the kitchen and you kind of move back and forth. What are your thoughts on that? Some people say stay on the kitchen line. You seem to kind of oscillate between the depth. Maybe people can't find your feet as much. Maybe you're giving yourself more time for counters. What are your thoughts around that?
No, it's exactly that. I remember, gosh, it wasn't this year's US Open, maybe last year's US Open. I was experimenting with it because, like I said, we keep talking about the point, but the game was getting so much faster. And when you're talking about milliseconds of reaction time, it's actually a pretty big deal, right? So there's if I know I'm playing straight ahead of someone that likes to pull the trigger a lot, I will come off the line a little bit more. And what I found, it was actually after a match at the US Open. I had a team that my partner and I had just beaten, and he came up to me and said, "You were messing me up because I wanted to speed up. And every time I wanted to, you backed off. And I knew you were going to be able to counter it easier. So then I it like threw him off his game. But there is something to like Eric Lang's a big, strong, long player, and there are times when you're right up there at the line and you just get your paddle on it, and you know you're stealing time, right, and it's coming back quick. So I kind of float between the two based on who I'm playing. But yeah, if there's somebody that likes to speed up a lot, I do it to Max all the time because Max likes to speed up. I'll go way off the line, and he'll joke, he'll still try to speed up. So
Yeah, I guess sometimes the impact of who you train with, right? Like if Max is in front of you and he's just, he's just waiting for the next ball to be aggressive on,
oh yeah,
it's gonna teach you to adapt. So, whether it's like, what was it the famous story of Ben and his bookshelf, so he had to keep hitting backhands at the ping pong table.
yeah,
When
yeah,
you're practicing a lot with people that like to speed up.
yeah.
You're kind of trying different things to see will help you that, and you've developed this adaptation in which you can give people different looks based on what they like to do.
Yeah, yeah. And then I do find my times like, okay, I gotta stay up here because this person isn't speeding up. So I want to be really close. Because again, I'm not 6'3" like Lang. I'm more of the bouncing around, moving my feet and closing the gap quickly that way, where Lang can just, stand there like this giant tree that he is. So
Yeah, I mean, Quan comes off the line quite a bit too, right? He goes way back and then he runs back in and it looks, I've never, seen him up close, but I would assume it'd be impossible to find his feet. And every time he try to go for his feet, he'll just jump back up and take it in the air.
yeah, and he's big on, with that crazy tennis grip with his forehand. There's a lot of tennis players that they really do like to, take the ball off the bounce, which is good. That can be a weapon. I've played with people. I think the advantage sometimes of when you're playing with a partner or someone that you're just training with is you get to see the trajectory of the ball. And there's so many times where if I'm sure there's stats on this somewhere, where taking the ball out of the air at a higher spot definitely is going to be better for winning the point than always letting this plastic ball that doesn't bounce like a tennis ball, hit the ground, die, and then people try to rip forehands. But I mean, Kwon can do it because I mean, one, he's really, really good, and he creates such great spin and probably clears the net by that much. But that's hard for a lot of people to do.
Yeah,
So
I guess it's based on your strengths, right? Because I always wonder if you take a dink, a volley out of the air and try to, roll it over the net, but if it's too low and you're taking it out of the air, if you're going straight up, you're basically giving them a dead dink that they could just rip cross court.
yeah,
So, and if I t took it off the balance, it could keep it lower and
yeah,
a little bit more neutral.
yep.
So I guess that's a split second decision, but I guess it depends on what your strengths are.
Yeah, and you got to make that decision quick because if you are, or I mean, how many times do you hear people like, "Oh, I was in between shots," or "I couldn't make my mind up"? That's usually when you pop one up then or something, and then get tattooed right back at you.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, tell me about equipment. Like what type of equipment do you use? What are your thoughts behind your equipment in general?
Yeah, so I mean, you probably see I've been with Carbon for the past few years. So my office is a mix of work stuff and then always having, paddles around. So I've used the Carbon 2X 16 millimeter for quite some time. It's more of a square shape, which a lot of people think because I played tennis, I'd want to have more, room on the handle for my two-handed backhand. But I've found a way to put my hand on this one, and I think that the 2X, the shape of it has a really good sweet spot, and I can stay really fast because the pedal doesn't seem like it's so far extended away from me.
Got it. Hey, can you show me your grip on your two-hander when you say with the short handle?
Oh, right here. So
Oh, okay. It looks like you have two fingers kind of, oh, wait. There's three fingers kind of overlapping each
I
other.
got that one right there. Yeah. So that's the way it is.
Wow. And you can sort of rip through it the same way, I guess.
Yeah, and then if I have to do a one-hander, I'm there.
Yeah.
But I actually switch grips a lot, even at the net. So if I'm in my forehand grip, I'm ready to kind of do, scorpion or pancake,
Scorpion,
which is also where my forehand, how I can get from the baseline a lot of topspin.
Yeah.
But I use the 16 because, again, I'm starting to choose more control and feel over power. It's just my preference, because I think this battle at nationals this year in Mesa, they had a speedometer where you could hit a ball and see. And I was trying some of these power paddles, and I was hitting this one just as hard. So, which was mind blowing to me, because when you hit with some of those springy ones, you think, oh my God, this has got to hit much harder. But maybe it's just they spring off really quick and then they slow down. Whereas this one, when you hit through it, I don't know. It was a little mind blowing to me. So,
Hey, I noticed in your game, it looked like you had a very deliberate approach towards leaving out balls. Do you practice that?
oh yeah, that's funny. I think just the years of playing tennis and tracking a ball, yeah, I just think it comes maybe easier for some people. And yeah, so all the time on the court, letting them go. I mean, trust me, there's been times where wind's a factor. You're like, oh my gosh, I could have smacked that thing, landed like a foot in. But yeah, I think that is a very underrated thing to be able to try to practice. And I yell to my partner a lot too, like, no, if I, again, because I can see the trajectory,
Yeah.
really standing next to him. But again, when it's right at your body and it's hard to get out of the way, it's really tough. So
Yeah, so for you, it kind of comes naturally. Well, anyone that do, like anyone sort of that doesn't naturally do it, what have you seen people do to try to work on that?
honestly, in practice, it's, again, hard habits to break, but especially when balls are hit right at you, you gotta, in rec play or whatever, you gotta practice getting out of the way and actually seeing where the ball lands.
Okay.
Because we always joke in rec too, we'll hit a ball and you'll ask the other person, like, hey, was that going out? Some people are honest, they're like, yeah, that was going to the fence. Others are like, we'll never know. And you're like, yeah, right, that was not in. Get out of here. But I think honestly, the hardest one is a cross court one.
Yeah.
Which I had to practice more of that, because in tennis, you're never, at the kitchen line or at the net watching a ball go cross court like an aggressive dink or even a speed up, where it's going to hit you. But if you get out of the way and you let it go wide, it goes wide by this much. But you never would have thought that.
Yeah.
So that one took a little bit more practice and reps of just getting out of the way and being like, oh my gosh, that went like 2 feet out. I was going to hit it. So,
I was one of the first episodes I did was with Leah Whitwell, and she said that
yeah,
you
great.
speed up them, see which way they turn. They turn to the left or turn to the right when they do that, and then now which way they can get out of which ones they can get out of the way and which ones they can't.
Yeah. Lee used to live out here in Oregon for a while, in Central Oregon. You probably knew that, but yeah, she's a good friend, and we joke she's my Airbnb buddy, because we've stayed at a lot of Airbnbs over the last couple of years for tournaments. So
very cool. Yeah, I'm sure I could talk here for hours on all these different things. But is there anything that I haven't covered, or any advice or anything you want to pass on before we end off?
No, I mean, I love it. Your podcast is great because you really talk a lot about, trying to improve your game and what everybody works on. And like I said, some of the takeaways, execution and shot selection, right? Which when you get in a match is very different than rec play. It's kind of like, don't try the crazy things you do in rec play. Try to do the things that are a higher percentage, and you'll get easier balls. I mean, that's what in tennis, I was known as the guy that got every ball back and, ran everything down. And that was my thing. I'm going to hit more balls than you and wait for the right one. And you can kind of use that in pickleball as well.
Yeah.
And work on the, whatever your weakness is. Cause that over the holidays, I was telling you, we traveled a lot, but we were down in Southern California where my wife's family is. And my mother-in-law, she got into pickleball. And she took me to like a private session, which was fun. It was all, 50, 60-year-olds. And I thought I was just going to play. And then the person there puts me on the spot. They're like, all right, how do we get better? I'm like, that is such, I don't know your game. I don't know anything. But I said, I'll play, we'll all play together and we'll figure it out. But basically, what are you not comfortable with? What is the thing that you are the least comfortable with? That's what you need to work on. Because whether you're a 3-0 or 3-5 or 4-0, if you're playing in a tournament or people that really want to win, if they find that, oh, your backhand dink, you pop up or you just look awkward doing it, they're going to keep hitting it there. If they're smart, they're going to keep hitting it there. So yeah, work on what you're not comfortable with.
Yeah, that's very cool. I love it. Well, Jason, thanks for spending the time. We covered a lot of different things. Appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, appreciate talking with you. It's really nice meeting you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Alpha Pickleball Podcast with Tats. If you enjoyed today's episode, subscribe, rate, and connect with us on social media. Stay alpha on the pickleball court. Until our next session.